to start with, this region is really hot, or too hot for me to stand this heat anymore. So I live in this country, but actually, so I haven't experienced this kind of heat, or this kind of, how should I say, this kind of, so not this heat is not tolerable, because it's too hot for me to stand this climate. So not unforgivable heat, which is the closest meaning to the emotion I have. Anyway, so I don't know how to call that heat in English language. Not unforgivable, or so another word for this one. So impossible to stand, or impossible to keep living in this country, because it's too hot. I'm sorry, maybe you haven't understood what I'm saying. So what I'm feeling is that living in this country in summer is really deadly, and it's really it's too hot. Living in this country is too hot for me to keep living in this country, because I don't like this hot weather, or I don't like this too hot weather, or hotness. I'm sorry. So hot. There must be some word meaning hotness, but actually, so not correctly speaking. Anyway, so heat. I think heat. The word heat is a better explanation for for explaining this deadly hot climate of this country in summer. Hotness. Maybe this kind of word exists in English language. Yeah, hotness is an English word anyway. So, hello everybody. I'm Richard Gon of Work to Live podcast version. So anyway, so I'm recording this episode in the end, or not former half, or latter half, or not in the beginning, nor in the middle, or in the end, not the final date of September, but actually in the end, or in the later half of September, which is the time of this recording, or which is the time I'm creating this episode, which is the time is so late the later half, or the latter half of September in 2022. So maybe the pandemic of coronavirus is ending, or maybe people have come back to their own normal or ordinary lives. So which is why, so also people in this country wear surgical masks or facial masks on their own faces. But actually, so people have found the pandemic of coronavirus and ended, or it's over. The pandemic is over, which is a general understanding, or which is a general understanding of the general public of this country. Anyway, so this is not the central track, or that this is hot weather, or the hot climate in this country is a huge problem. But actually, the hot weather or the hot climate of this country is not the central track, or the central topic of this episode. Anyway, the title is Nobody Wants to Marry a Raper, and the conclusion is that Russian troops are not weak, which means the fact that Ukraine took the control of Kharkov Oblast means an imminent uprising. Anyway, so I'm sorry for I didn't notice that I took almost 5 minutes, or almost 4 or 5 minutes to to start the main track of this episode. And anyway, so I was talking about hot weather in my country. By the way, I live in Japan, so I didn't expect I have already taken 4 or 5 minutes without paying time for talking, or even beginning to talk about the main track or the main topic of this episode. So from hot weather to cold weather, which I think is what is going on in this episode. Well, I caused that event anyway. I'm sorry. So anyway, roughly saying, nobody wants to marry a raper. So what I'd like you to know is that recently, days before or weeks, a few weeks before, so Ukrainian forces, Ukrainian troops took the control of the entire territory of Kharkov Oblast or Kharkiv Oblast in Ukrainian language. So it's difficult to call that oblast in both languages. So I use anyway. So I have used the Russian language for describing or for calling the names of regions even in Ukrainian territory. That is because I'm more familiar with Russian language than Ukrainian language to start with. So of course I don't understand Russian language decently, or I don't understand the Russian language well. But actually, so I have never studied Ukrainian language, so which is why. So my understanding is that well, if there are some people who have comparing the number of people who have studied Russian language and that who have studied, or not that those who have studied Ukrainian language, the former must be larger than the latter, which is what I'm saying. By the way, so Kharkov. Let me check out that state, not that state. That is the name of our region, Kharkov, or Kharkiv in Ukrainian language. But actually, so Russian pronunciation is Kharkov, which is easier for me to pronounce. Or this is alphabet. This is an alphabet one. So which is why. So I know this pronunciation in Russian language. So in English, in Russian manner, the name of this oblast is called Kharkov. But actually, so using Ukrainian language, this is Kharkiv maybe. And in Russian language, using Cyrillic letters, so Kharkov is the correct pronunciation of if you use Russian language. Anyway, so but actually, so until recently, also there had been many troubles having tormented Russian troops. But actually, so Russian force has gradually increased or gradually advanced into Ukrainian territories, into the Ukrainian territory or into the Ukrainian soil, which was the general tendency, the general not trend, a kind of trend. But actually, anyway, Russian force has increased their own controlling territories inside Ukrainian soil. So, but actually, so although the progress is progress are what I should have used. Progresses of Russian troops are really short or small, because so of course to start with, Russia has been sanctioned by many countries, and apart from which, so every advanced country or every developed country has helped Ukraine. So thinking about which, Ukraine troops must have more advanced weapons than those Russian troops use or Russian soldiers use. So thinking about which, so people have said at the beginning of the war between Russia and Ukraine. So there's no way left in Russian troops or Russian force, but to use nuclear weapons or nuclear bombs. Anyway, so but actually, so using nuclear weapons or nuclear bombs is really lethal in terms of the diplomatic performance or international communications between Russia and other countries. So thinking about which, using nuclear weapons or using nuclear weapons is the last choice, or must be the last choice, or should be the last choice for Russia anyway. So which is why Russia has to win in the last Ukrainian war without using nuclear weapons. Anyway, so in which sense? So in which way Russia is in really a troublesome or cumbersome situation, because Russia can't use its own strongest weapons against Ukraine. Anyway, nevertheless, Russian troops have been strong, which is why they could proceed their military operations into the deeper soil of Ukraine. So anyway, so maybe Russia has the controls of Lugansk and the largest part of Donetsk Oblast, and maybe it has that they have the control of Kherson and its proximities. Anyway, so thinking about which, Russia was fighting, or Russian troops are fighting well. So thinking about the fact that Russia has been sanctioned by other countries. But actually, so this time, so also the large part of Kharkiv Oblast or Kharkov Oblast has been conquered by Russian troops. But actually, recently Ukraine could get that control, that region or that soil back to themselves, which had been controlled by Russian troops. But actually, so what I'm thinking is that Russian troops are not so weak. So which is why, so maybe Russian forces or maybe some members of Russian force, or Russian troops or Russian soldiers have voluntarily or have surrendered that control territory previously Ukraine had, and those Russian troops voluntarily or spontaneously went out of that part of the soil of Kharkov or Kharkiv Oblast, which is what I'm saying. So so if you can't understand my explanation, so gist is that maybe Russian forces or maybe some members of Russian force, or there may be some uprisings against the central government of Russian Federation, which is what I think, or which is what I'm thinking. And without, so please remember the explosion which took place in Crimea Peninsula, and this is my speculation, of course. But actually, so without helps of informants, or without helps of so people working on clandestine works, or without helps of traitors working against the Russian government and working or favoring Ukrainian government. So I don't think that explosion. I don't think that explosion would go successfully. Well, the fact is that explosion which happened in Crimean Peninsula was exercised successfully, and the explosion was accomplished by some people. But actually, so what I'm thinking is that without the helps of Russian people, I mean not only ethnically Russian people, but actually so Russian people involved into some organizations or some governmental organizations of Russian Federation without helps of such Russian people. So I don't think that explosion would be executed or would be exercised or successfully. So the accomplishment of that explosion means there must be some people working in favor of Ukrainian government and working against Russian Federation. And so maybe those people must be working on some businesses of clandestine works, or how should I say, surreptitious works, which I think are those traitors or those informants are doing. I'm sorry for my clumsy explanation, but actually, so which is such kind of clandestine stuff, or such kind of imminent uprisings, or if there's an ongoing plan of an imminent uprising, so the singular term can be suitable. But actually, so such a possibility of uprisings is what I'd like you to know this time. So I'm tired recently because so maybe episodes before I have talked about the formalities or the documents I had to create for claiming for refund from the extraneous payments I paid to Swiss tax authority. So I decided to create or to fill up the necessary documents again. So I have filled necessary documents before, but actually, so that attempt of claiming for refund to Swiss government, not Swiss government, or Swiss tax authority has failed. The previous claim for refund had failed. So which is why I challenged the second time, which is the present situation of the claim for refund. Anyway, so which is not related to the main track of this episode. Anyway, so I'm going to tell you the title and the conclusion of this episode. The title is Nobody Wants to Marry a Raper. So conclusion is that Russian troops are not weak, which means the fact that Ukraine took the control of Kharkov Oblast means an imminent uprising. So so there must be some Russian troops who survived and who are going to come back to their own houses. But actually, so if those Russian survivors are accused of being rapers or being torturers, or some people may find those Russian troops some Russian civilians may find those Russian soldiers or Russian troops really cruel people, really lizard-like people, and because they have tortured Ukrainian people or Ukrainian troops, and they have raped or they have assaulted some Ukrainian women without violence. So thinking about which, so such a forced, sexual intercourse, or such a violent sexual intercourse can be the the primary stuff Russian troops should have avoided, but actually, so, those Russian troops may be accused being rapers, or accused of having committed rapes or sexual assaults, which is which might be the future Russian troops or Russian soldiers are going to face. So thinking about which, so putting yourselves into the shoes of Russian soldiers, it can be natural that Russian troops or Russian soldiers came to want to come back to their own countries, because fighting in favor of their own countries must be a good stuff. But actually, this time the last Ukrainian war is an invasion done by or executed by the Russian government against Ukrainian soil. So thinking about which the motives, or the, how should I say, anyways, so Russian, maybe the motives, or the how, I can't remember another word suitable for explaining this word, motive, or another emotional driving force encouraging Russian troops or Russian soldiers to fight against enemies. But actually, in this present world, those Russian soldiers do not have such emotional drives encouraging encouraging them to fight against enemies. So which is why, so it's natural that those Russian soldiers come to come back to their own countries, which is what I'd like you to know this time. So that's it. Thank you very much for your listening. See you. By the way, if you do not know the meaning of uprising, so revolt or rebellion are other words having the same meaning as uprising. So please understand like that. And this is another correction, but so maybe I said that so Kherson and its proximity had been conquered by Russian force, but actually, so the correct term is vicinity, not proximity. So in this present time, the Kharkov and its vicinity had been conquered by Russian force, which is what I should have told you.